"You're not on the list," my son-in-law said, blocking the door. I held the gift tighter. "I'm her grandmother," he smirked. "Not today." My granddaughter watched from inside, confused, and I stood there, holding cupcakes I'd baked at 5 in the morning, wondering how love had become something that needed a permission slip. My name is Grace, and I'm 36 years old. I work as a pediatric nurse. Long shifts, tired feet, and the kind of exhaustion that only fades when you know you helped a child feel safe. That specific feeling of being needed by a child, has always been at the center of who I am. My granddaughter Lily has always been that center for me outside of work. I was in the delivery room the day she was born. I held my daughter's hand through every contraction, every terrified breath, every moment between the pain and the miracle. When Lily finally arrived, I cried harder than anyone in that room. Not because I was sad, because I understood immediately that this little person had just rearranged everything inside me. But things changed after my daughter married Eric. He was charming enough at first, polite in the way that feels rehearsed. He smiled at the right times and said the right things. But he watched me too carefully whenever Lily ran to me. Like my love for her was a threat he hadn't figured out how to neutralize yet. He started making small comments. Said I visited too often. Said I interfered. Said Lily needed to bond with her new family unit, not be pulled in two directions. After their divorce, a judge gave Eric primary custody. Suddenly, loving Lily required a calendar and a court order. I had scheduled visitation, limited hours, and a son-in-law who treated every visit like a favor he was doing me. I never missed a single court-ordered day. Not once, but Eric kept finding reasons. Excuses that sounded almost reasonable if you didn't know him. Lily had a cold. Lily had a play date. Lily was tired. The reasons changed, but the pattern never did. I wasn't wealthy. I wasn't connected. I didn't have power in any way that Eric would recognize or respect, but I had patience. And I had been quietly keeping records of every single time he tried to erase me. If you've ever had someone try to control your place in your own family, hit subscribe. I know exactly how that feels. Tell me in the comments whether you've ever been kept away from someone you love. Click hype and let's stand up for family together. Lily's 7th birthday was supposed to be a good day. I had been planning it for weeks. I bought her a gift she'd mentioned once in passing, just once, because that's the kind of thing grandmothers notice. I baked her favorite cupcakes, lemon with purple frosting, the night before, boxing them carefully so the decorations wouldn't smudge during the drive. I arrived early, because I always arrived early. I wanted to help set up. I wanted to see her face when she walked into her own party. Eric met me at the door like a bouncer at a club he owned. His voice was flat and cold when he told me I wasn't invited. He said I had been disrupting his household and that this was his event, his home, and his rules. I reminded him, calmly, that the court order gave me visitation that day. That it wasn't a request. That it was legally binding. He laughed. Actually laughed. "Take it up with the court if you don't like it," he said. Neighbors had started watching from their driveways. Other parents arriving for the party slowed down to stare. The air smelled like fresh-cut grass and someone's barbecue down the street. And I remember thinking how strange it was that the world could smell so ordinary while something so cruel was happening. Then Lily appeared behind him. Her little hands were clutching the hem of her dress. "Grandma," she asked, "why aren't you coming in?" Eric shut the door. I stood on that porch holding lemon cupcakes with purple frosting, in front of witnesses who would remember my face. And I did not cry. I wanted to, but I didn't. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. Eric had filed a motion that morning claiming I was emotionally unstable and seeking to revoke my visitation rights entirely. He hadn't just turned me away from a birthday party. He had planned this. The visits stopped being canceled occasionally after that. They stopped almost entirely. Eric would text me an hour before a scheduled visit saying Lily wasn't feeling well. Then he'd post photos of her at the park that same afternoon. He was never even careful about it. He didn't think he needed to be. Then came the rumors. Family members I had known for years started pulling back from me. Eric had been talking, telling people I was obsessive, that I couldn't respect boundaries, that my attachment to Lily was unhealthy. My own cousin stopped returning my calls. An aunt I adored sent me a single text saying she didn't want to be in the middle of things. The middle of things. As though my relationship with my granddaughter was a conflict I had started. At Lily's school spring concert. I sat 3 rows behind Eric. He was with a woman I didn't recognize. When the teacher introduced families to one another before the performance, I heard him gesture to this woman and say she was Lily's mother figure. He didn't look in my direction once. The gym smelled like old sneakers and industrial cleaner. and I sat very still, breathing through it, watching Lily scan the crowd until her eyes found mine. She gave me a tiny wave. Eric didn't see it. I felt something shift in me that night. Not breaking, shifting. I stopped responding emotionally to his provocations. I stopped sending the frustrated texts, stopped calling family members to defend myself, stopped showing up at anything that wasn't strictly cool. I let him believe his narrative was working. And I started writing everything down. What Eric didn't know was that I never threw anything away. Every text message where he canceled visits was saved and screenshotted with time. Every voicemail where he claimed Lily was sick, while photos on his social media told a different story, was downloaded and stored. I had recordings to legal in my state of phone conversations where he said things he clearly believed no one was keeping. In one recording, he told someone he was tired of sharing Lily with people who weren't real family. In another, he laughed about how I'd never be able to fight him legally because I didn't have the money. He was wrong about that second part. I reached out quietly to someone I trusted, a woman who understood family law in ways that mattered. And I began building something Eric hadn't prepared for. A timeline. Clean, documented, chronological, every violation, every canceled visit, every piece of proof that what he was doing wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a pattern. And patterns, when you lay them out carefully, are very hard to explain away. I stopped arguing with Eric directly. Every time he provoked me, I let him talk. I let him send the smug texts. I let him feel comfortable. Because confidence in the wrong person always becomes evidence eventually. I knew the truth didn't need to be loud. It just needed to be ready. The family lawyer who had worked with my daughter during the divorce agreed to meet with me. He was older now, grayer, but he remembered Eric clearly. He sat across from me at his desk and read through everything I had compiled. And when he looked up, his expression had changed. "Grace," he said, "this isn't just unfair. This is a violation of a court order. Multiple violations. We worked together over the following weeks. He helped me organize the evidence into a presentation that wouldn't just be credible. It would be impossible to dismiss." Meanwhile, Eric grew more confident publicly. He told family members the judge would see my instability clearly. He hosted a birthday dinner for Lily and made sure photos circulated where I was visibly absent. He thought he was winning. I let him think that. The court date arrived on a Tuesday morning. The room was quiet except for the low hum of the ventilation system and the occasional shuffle of papers. Eric sat across the aisle looking composed, certain he had come prepared to perform. He went first, and he was good at it. He described me as intrusive, as someone who couldn't accept appropriate limits, as a woman whose emotional instability made her a disruptive presence in Lily's life. He was calm. He made eye contact with the judge. He sounded reasonable. Then my lawyer began. He didn't argue emotionally. He didn't ask the judge to sympathize with me. He simply pressed play. The first recording filled the room, Eric's voice unmistakable, saying he was tired of sharing Lily with people he didn't consider real family. The second recording followed, him laughing, saying I'd never be able to fight him because I didn't have the money. The judge leaned forward. Text messages appeared next, dated and time-stamped, showing Eric canceling court-ordered visits, and then, hours later, posting Lily at events on social media. The pattern was clear, systematic, and deliberate. The judge looked directly at Eric. "Did you knowingly deny court-ordered visitation to this child's grandmother?" Eric tried to redirect. He called it a misunderstanding. He said the recordings were taken out of context. He said he was only protecting Lily from instability. But every answer he gave contradicted. Something already entered into evidence. He shifted in his seat. The confidence began draining out of him visibly, slowly, like air from something that had been inflated too tightly. My lawyer presented the final piece. A recording of Eric, in his own voice, laughing about keeping Lily's grandmother away. No context could soften it. No explanation could reshape what was plain to hear. The courtroom went completely silent. The judge's ruling came without hesitation. Eric had violated the court-ordered visitation agreement repeatedly and deliberately. He had acted against the best interest of the child. Visitation rights were to be immediately enforced, expanded, and protected under stronger terms. Eric received a formal warning that any further interference would prompt a review of the primary custody arrangement. Eric sat very still. He didn't look at me. I walked out of that courthouse into afternoon sunlight, and I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel triumphant in the way people might expect. I felt something quieter than that. Like a pressure I had been carrying for so long I had forgotten what my own breathing felt like. Finally releasing, my visitation was restored, protected more firmly than it had ever been. The next time I saw Lily, she came running across the room before I had even finished opening the door. She wrapped her arms around my neck and held on. "You came back," she whispered. And I held her there and thought I never left. I just had to fight to stay. Some family members reached out afterward, apologies that arrived slowly, carefully, with a little shame attached. I accepted them without making anyone feel worse than they already did. There wasn't space in me for that kind of scorekeeping anymore. What I had space for was this: being present. Being the grandmother who shows up with lemon cupcakes and purple frosting and doesn't require a single permission slip to love her grandchild, because love doesn't disappear when someone tries to block it. It waits. And when it comes back with documentation. If someone has ever tried to keep you away from someone you love, you already know the particular kind of pain that is. It doesn't have a clean name. It just lives in you. Share your story in the comments. I'm listening. Subscribe if you believe that family bonds shouldn't be weaponized or controlled by someone with an agenda. Help this story reach someone who needs to know they're not alone by clicking hype. Standing up for yourself is one of the hardest things a person can do, especially when the person you're fighting for is too young to understand what you're sacrificing. If this story reached you, subscribe and join a community of people who refuse to be erased. Click hype to let me know it helped. And tell me where in the world you're watching from, because these stories travel further than I ever expect them to. And every single location in the comments reminds me why it's worth telling the truth.